And when we start to make progress, first of all, acknowledge that the first time you do something, or maybe even the 10th time you do something, you're not going to be good at it, and no one would. We shouldn't expect ourselves to be. Progress is a product of repetition. So when we start to again orient or prioritize, growth over a specific end result, it completely changes the game, because then every single step we take, every single time we show up and try again is a win. And it creates this, what's known as the science of small wins. It's basically the process of how we build strength, how we build confidence, and how we build momentum. So yeah, I think that just those simple, small things, focusing on, orienting toward growth, and then focusing on the daily steps and celebrating each win, are vitally important for chronic illness recovery as well as for growth of an organization.
Yeah. So we talked about anxiety in people and just society in general and in the workplace. So what would you tell a leader who tells you, my workers are a bit like stressed, they're not as is it not performing as in the past, they're more sick, and I feel that they're not really focused enough. What would you tell him? Because anxiety is a human situation that everybody
Hmm.
has from time to time, and it seems that sometimes we cannot do much about it. What would you tell him?
Yeah. So first and foremost, I would say listen to what your employees are saying. I think all too often, and look, it's totally understandable. We, especially as anyone in a sort of leadership position, our business is our baby. We get really hyper focused on where we're going, and sometimes we forget to have those human conversations. So I think that that's a really important thing to do, is just to listen to what people are experiencing. Maybe even take some ideas for how things can be improved, and then ultimately, I think starting to shift that focal point, to, of course, we want to look at things like end goals and KPIs, but we want to treat them as something that's kind of in our peripheral vision, not the thing that we're heading toward. Because if it's the thing that we're heading toward, then we're giving our power away, and we're encouraging, or we're basically training our employees to give their power away. If the mark was hit, you should feel good and less anxious. If the mark isn't hit, or if you're not going to hit the mark, anxiety should increase. And that's not really the way that we want to govern ourselves or our businesses. We want to be able to feel good about the work that we do because we're showing up and doing it. And anything in the way of KPIs or indicators are really guides, guiding our direction. So I think when we think of it as feedback and not failure, it can actually strengthen us as a community to come together, and orient in the same direction, knowing that at the end of the day, I think, one of the first core values I have, um, for Reorigin and our employees is, this value of, cohesiveness, alignment with the mission. So, that we're in it together. We're moving forward, and we're always stretching. So if the like if the core value is to stretch and grow, then any pain points we might come across, sure, unpleasant as they might be, okay, we missed the mark by, we were way off or something, but it allows us to see it as feedback, and then to reevaluate, with a little bit of distance from it, where we're not so emotionally attached to it. We can actually even thank the experience for letting us know, for keeping us back in line, and then helping us to move forward.
Yeah, it reminds me of what Churchill said about success. You know that line.
Yeah, what was he said? Success is never final. Failure is never fatal. It's, what did he say? It's
Yeah, I heard like something different than maybe he said a few things. I heard that he said success is going from failure to failure without losing your enthusiasm.
mm, I love that
And,
one. Yeah,
yeah, and I think it's relating to what you're saying. The
yeah,
fact that we have challenges doesn't mean much as long as we're continuing. And sometimes we do have challenges. And if we're talking about anxiety and any kind of mental stress that we're going through, especially during these two very difficult years, if we decided to see it as a challenge we could overcome, it's very different than just seeing the consequences and what could be done and what is the catastrophic effect that would be in our lives in the future, and then you feel more stressed, right? Because you
Exactly.
think it's going to be really bad.
Yeah, that quote just came back to mind. The one that I recalled from Churchill, which is very similar sentiment. I think what he said is, success is never final, failure is never fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. And that
Yeah,
shifts the focus from outcome to process, right? To just showing up and taking the steps and celebrating the fact that we took those steps. I know as an entrepreneur, so many of us can sort of wake up with a feeling that we're already, it's 6 a.m. I just woke up and I'm already in a massive productivity debt. And now I owe
yeah.
this day to repaying that productivity debt, to getting all those things done on my to-do list that I didn't do, that piled up from